We welcome you to another episode of Sports Talk. I'm Ted Emrich. While the Texas Rangers close out a red-hot start to their season, the second season in Texas high school baseball is just beginning. The playoffs are here, and 2 out of 3 schools in McKinney ISD have qualified. Now, we talked with Boyd coach Brandon Milam last week. His Broncos secured second place in District 10 5A. In 10 4A, McKinney North grabbed the 4th and final playoff spot. Coach Jim Gatewood will take that. After last year, he'll stop by and take us inside the wild final day of the regular season, and we'll preview the first-round matchup against the state's second-ranked team, Wakeland. Meanwhile, McKinney's 5-year playoff streak is over, but Coach Jeremy Price is here to celebrate the careers of his seniors, including that of Anthony Hermelin, the future Oklahoma Sooner. Also coming up, the Dennis Baker State Farm Scholar Athlete of the Week, next on Sports Talk. First time in 6 years, the McKinney Lions are not going to the playoffs. Coach Jeremy Price is with us now, and Jeremy, sure, it's disappointing, but going into the season, you knew it would be somewhat of an uphill climb with this team, trying to replace a bulk of the previous team. Overall, what do you take from this season?
Overall, Ted, we knew coming in we were going to be young, inexperienced, and unfortunately, in high school baseball, you have 14 games that matter, and in comparison to Major League Baseball, where they say you can't win a division in April, but you can lose it, in high school baseball, you can lose a playoff spot in March, and essentially that's what we did. We got off to a really slow start, and we had an uphill climb, and but overall, I think the way we finished the year says a lot about our team. We showed a lot of character down the stretch, and when we could have thrown in the towel, and our seniors, didn't allow that to happen. And so, while it's a little bit disappointing that we're not in the playoffs, we showed some signs of great things to come.
Yeah, Jeremy, a 4-10 record in the district, good for 7th place. But like you said, your team didn't give up when it could have. Many teams would have. You had a 3-game win streak before the season finale against Highland Park. What does that say about this team that they did not throw in that towel?
It just says that they have character. Again, our seniors didn't allow the team to quit, and so that's a huge tribute to them going out. It gives us something to build on. It gives something for those young guys to reflect on next year, to see the importance of the mental part of the game, the focus level, and just playing at a varsity type level, and how important every single play is, every single pitch is.
Jeremy, your team started that 3-game win streak with a 9-4 victory over North. It's the final time you play the Bulldogs as district opponents for at least the next 2 years. How special was that night for your team?
It was special for the team. You're exactly right. For the kids, we talked about what we could do. We knew we were pretty much out of the playoff race at that point, and so we changed our focus to just playing the game the right way, and doing the little things. And for that game, it didn't look good late in the game. We had lost the lead late in the game, and then for the kids to be able to respond and come back, and not only respond but to come back and win it decisively. I think that proved to them, that the things we were doing, we were headed in the right direction.
Anthony Hermelin helped drive this offense, much like last year when he was named first-team All-State and the district offensive MVP. His numbers weren't as outrageous as last year, and he's hitting well over 500 and all the home runs and RBIs, the power totals. But it's clear that this year opposing pitchers were very careful about how they attacked Anthony.
Yeah, Anthony arrived on the map, as we say, last year, and he was surrounded by some some really good hitters, and so he benefited from that. But at the same time, he put up some big numbers last year, and not only did opposing pitchers, but opposing coaches as well knew that going into the game. And, you know, that's hard to duplicate, pretty much impossible, especially in a district as tough as ours. And so the numbers that he put up are a little more realistic as to what kind of player he is against quality pitching. But, you know, he never let that affect him. You know, he still played the game the way he knows how to play the game and demonstrated his abilities.
Anthony signed with the University of Oklahoma. What do you think he can do for Sonny Galloway's program?
Anthony's his limits are limitless. You know, he's such a cerebral player. He's gonna do very well at Oklahoma. You know, they're getting a kid that not only has the physical skills, but again, his mental skills are way up there. I've made the comment before that very few players have I coached that can match my intensity, but Anthony is one of those, and he's done that for 4 straight years. He knows the game very, very well, and so when it comes to maybe a lack of physical ability somewhere, he makes up for that with his mental ability.
Anthony was also a star for you on the mound, in addition to at the plate. Second on the team in innings pitched. He led the team in ERA, actually. Did you think he could give you that a year after not stepping on the mound at all following Tommy John surgery?
That's part of our job as coaches is we look 1-2 years down the road. And following his Tommy John surgery at the end of his sophomore year, we had projections that he would be able to do that his senior year. We kind of identified him as our closer. You know, it ended up being a little bit more of a role than a closer. We used him as a starter in a couple of different games. He took a couple of hard luck losses along the way, but we had envisioned that for a couple of years that he could fill that role for us.
You honored Anthony and the rest of your seniors this past Friday night at Al Alford Field senior night against Highland Park, a hard-fought game there against the Scots. What will you miss most about this class of 2012?
Just their leadership. You know, you know, we ended the year with 5 seniors on the team, in addition to a couple of managers. But those 5 seniors, you know, they've given us 4 really good years. You know, hard work every day, coming out, and regardless of whether they were starters or whether they were role players, you know, they showed up every single day, ready to work, ready to get after it, and you know. That's going to be a huge benefit for those younger guys, and I challenge the younger guys following the game Friday night to follow their leadership and see what made them successful for 4 years and continue that.
And you certainly hope that rubbed off on one of your sophomores in Brad Vassar, who kind of provided a glimpse into the future, both as a pitcher and as a run producer. He led the team in innings, 3 and 5, an ERA of 5, but he proved he could handle that kind of workload. He also hit over 400, one of your top run producers this season. What do you make of Brad's sophomore year?
It was a learning experience for Brad. Again, from a pitching standpoint, you know, he's learned a lot about himself, about how to get quality hitters out. You know, anytime you get a chance to pitch in this district against the hitters that are in this district, you know, it's a learning experience. And as a sophomore, you know, we're hopeful that he'll take that experience from this year and turn into a true number 1 for us over the next 2 years. And offensively, you know, Brad had the capability of hitting behind Anthony most of the year. And so if Anthony didn't see pitches to hit, you know, and drew a walk, then, you know, Brad was right there behind him. And, you know, he did an exceptional job.
And I'm sure that's a sophomore class as a whole you hope can grow, in addition to Vassar, Joe Baker, among others.
Yeah, we actually had Joe Baker, Brad Vassar, Brett Ganaway is a sophomore that was with us this year, and you know, we're definitely hopeful that, you know, the things that they got from this year will benefit them the next 2 years.
Meanwhile, you talk about that senior leadership. I'm sure you'll be expecting that from Jesse Cox next season. Cox, I remember last year, was one of your top arms. This year, he performed well at the plate, hitting over .320 in district play. And Cox has 1 year left. What do you see from Jesse going forward?
Jesse just he will continue to mature as a baseball player. You know, as is the case many times with young kids, you throw them into the varsity at the district level. It's a little bit overwhelming at times. It's a different game. It's played at a different speed, and there's a transition period. And Jesse was able to make that transition this year based upon his experience last year. He was able to make that transition, and we definitely do hope that carries over into next year, and right out of the gates, that he's ready for what's going to be 5A competitions. So, our junior class, they gained a lot this year, from Jesse to Garrett Dodd to Garrett Christensen, Dalton Harris, stepped in behind the plate for us. Once we experienced a couple of injuries that required some lineup changes, and so those guys gained some valuable experience.
Jeremy, looking forward to that new district, going back to Allen and the Planos and Boyd?
I've been there before.
Yep.
In my career here, we've been there before. We know what to expect, and coming out of the 4A district that we've been in the last 2 years, from a baseball standpoint, there's not a lot of change. There's going to be quality baseball played day in and day out, and so you got to come to the field ready.
Jeremy, thanks so much for the time this season. Best of luck going forward. I hope the offseason is very productive.
We appreciate it, Ted.
Jeremy Price, head coach of the McKinney Lions. Okay, the playoff streak is over, but the Lions look forward to the opportunity of starting a new one next year.